Fala, rapaziada, o Talkeshi de hoje aqui é em English. Afinal de contas, eu tô recebendo dois dos melhores times, dos melhores coaches que temos no nosso cenário, Stardust e Coach SeeEl, um técnico da Loud e outro técnico aqui da Vivo Keyd, inclusive um confronto que a gente tem já nesse final de semana. Guys, first of all, thank you for joining me in this conversation. And really simple, how are you guys now? How are you guys feeling and seeing the second split so far?
I think we're doing good in terms of progress, developing our players, following through our methodology, but, it's still regular season, so no strong feelings about that just yet. Just focusing on getting better every day.
And you, Stardust?
Since come back from the MSI, we are just slowly wake up, and then now I think we are ready to go full for the split. And then I'm looking forward to show some progress compared to last split. Yeah, that's it.
That's good. That's good. And I want to go back in the past and understand about your careers in general. When I was a pro, I looked to Faker and Ambition as a role model. But I want to understand about you guys, why did you start coaching? Were you guys good at teaching math or science back in school to your friends? And what made you guys started coaching in the first place? You first, Chris.
My story is a little bit unique.
Mm-hmm.
I was a finance economics major, and I wanted to find something that would put me a part of the crowd. Because I really believe if you want to live a good life or if you want to make an impact, you need to do things differently from other people. And when I looked at my life, I was just a normal guy going to, a normal school, and I wouldn't have any weapons for the real world. And so I looked around, and the first thing that came to my mind was actually esports. I started off thinking I might go into investment banking or something like this as an esports expert. I looked into the business of esports, the sustainability. I looked into a lot of the different elements, including esports management. And then when I finally arrived at coaching, my story as a coach was actually I had written some papers on Reddit about traditional education and how you can apply some of these methods as well as some high performance systems to improve in your League of Legends game. Mark Merrill, the founder of Riot Games, retweeted it. I didn't have Twitter at the time, but people on Reddit commented, so I made a Twitter account. I went there and I messaged him. I said, "Hey, do you want some coaching?" Because I felt why not? I'll just try to get every opportunity,
right?
Yeah, and then he said yes. So that was my first coaching gig, actually. And from there, I worked for ESL. I worked for a bunch of companies, just getting the know-how behind management. Kept coaching, and then my reputation spread to the point where someone said, "Oh, come coach for us full-time." So there I joined the Chiefs Esports Club, which was, at the time, the premier esports organization in Australia. So I said, I'll give myself 1 year to go full-time in esports. And if it works out and I can leave Oceania in a year, then I'll continue. If not, I'll go back to studying. So that's how it started, and I never really looked back since.
And what about you, Stardust?
So I started my career in the esports when I was 18 as a pro gamer in
How old are you today?
34.
Oh, nice.
So it's been 16 years. So anyway, I was pro gamer in StarCraft, and then after that I went to Army, and then I moved to StarCraft 2, and then I suddenly felt my game is going to die in a couple of years, and then I don't want to experience that again after Brood War, StarCraft to StarCraft 2. So at that point, League was most popular game, and then I tried to give me a shot as a player, but I spent 1 year, and then highest rank I achieved it was just master, and then okay, maybe I'm too old. Back then I was 26, something like that, and it was considered really old age as a pro gamer. Even now it's old, but because of Deft and Faker, is the ceiling is going a little higher than before.
They're breaking the barrier, right?
Yeah. So everyone come back from their break, something like that. So anyway, so I realized I can't be pro gamer in League. So there's nothing else I can do. So I just choose coach.
Yeah, I think my question was because I think we need some role models for coaching here in Brazil, because people want to be coached one day here in Brazil. And this season, the second split, is the most amount of gringos in the coaching staff, as we say here. People from other countries coaching our teams. What you guys think of that condition right now in the Brazilian scenario? Why do you think like every team are bringing more and more gringos to the coaching staff? Because we have Nelson on red, Jero on pain, we have Westway on Furia, we have you guys. Why do you think that, Chris?
Well, my initial thoughts on Brazil in general is that the gameplay itself is lacking in its structure and its complexity, like to compete at a higher level. I think teams naturally looked for ways to improve that. I think over the years they have tried to import players since I think 2014 Keyd? Was that the that was the first team?
Right?
The first Korean, right? That was 2014. So this has been almost a 8-9 year project on trying to elevate the region by importing. But then they had realized, or at least from an outside perspective, that players cost about 5 times that of a coach, normally speaking. So when you're trying to bring a top class player, their salary, let's just say in Europe, would be €1 million. And that's probably your yearly operating budget for a team here. So they're like, okay, the best we're getting is closer to the bottom of the barrel, right? No offense to the imports here. And coaches became a better option because they could get mid to upper class coaches at a discounted price and kind of develop that talent. But that being said, I think Brazilian coaches, from the ones that I've spoken to, like Aoshi and a lot of these other guys, I think they're incredibly talented. I think they speak well. It's just a matter of experience and having the privilege of working with incredibly talented players. For example, Stardust worked with Faker, which is like mind-blowing. So, the things that you learn with someone like that is going to be so beneficial for the scenario. And I guess that's kind of why people are going towards coaching.
And about like coaching the Brazilian player, how is it different? Because you worked on OPL and LEC, and you worked on LCK, coaching Faker and LLA. So what's like the main difference between coaching players from other region and coaching players here in Brazil? Are we more like emotional? What's the big difference that you can point like in the first place?
So I think it's been a long time since I coached a minor region. I coached a minor region on the first year of my career, and to be honest, my level was significantly lower than what was needed for that role. Luckily, I met the right people. Like, for example, Croc was one of them, and I learned a lot about the game from then. So I didn't have a distinct memory of how players from Oceania actually coached, just more so that, okay, during that 1 year, I spent a lot of time learning from my players as well as messaging players abroad and learning from them. What I can say is the difference between Brazilian players and players in the West, Europe per se, is that they tend to be a lot more emotional. So I think a lot of that stems from culture. I think Brazilians are incredible, fantastic people. They're emotional, they're passionate. And it's a good thing and a bad thing. If you manage to channel that in the right way, I think it's incredibly powerful. And that's kind of how I see things evolving in the future. Just knowing how to tap into that energy for coaches. But other than that, it's just a matter of compensation. So if you get fired from a job in the LEC or a job in the LCK and you're a middle top class player, you're probably earning somewhere between 30,000 to 50,000 euros a month. Of course, I think the salaries have reduced quite a bit since then, but as an example. Whereas here, if you're a middle top level player, you're making somewhere between, I'd say, 20,000 reais, 15 to 20,000 reais as a journeyman and a veteran. So, it's like, okay, if you go to work and you lose this job, then they might be like, whatever. I know it's a lot of money in Brazil, but they might be like, whatever. But in Europe, they're like, okay, if I lose this job, I'm losing a car every month. So I think that also demands a lot more professionalism. That demands a lot higher expectation, and the talent they're able to gather from the management perspective, including the CEOs and the general managers. They tend to have like football backgrounds or a long background in esports. So they expect a lot more, and I think over the years that made a lot of a difference in the attitude of the players. So I do think that professionalism and emotion is the main two differences.
And what about you, Stardust? Because you have coached Flamengo, Los, and now you're in Loud. What's the big difference in coaching T1, LCK, LLA teams, and now coaching a Brazilian player?
I usually just embrace their culture. So I come to Brazil, I just follow the Brazil. Everything they do is like it's a standard. So I don't really like thought about it. Because culture matter, but the player, the individual matter more. I think. So if this player like perceive the situation like this, then I adapt to that. It's not like the culture is different, so I make like something different. But yeah, the Brazilian people are more like tended to be like more kind of emotional, like easily happy, easily sad. But fine. But it's because like Korean is completely opposite. They are like
you have to work around that, right?
Yeah. Like Koreans are more like emotional less, I think I would say. When they win, they don't smile. When they lose, they just same, you know. When their face may be pretty much the same as when they lose and win. I think that's like Korean culture. Like you need to kind of hide your emotion, being like poker face. But I don't like them much, so I enjoy it. Like you know, like when they play game here, they just doing
they
like
scream,
you know, this. It's like rap battle, you know.
Nice.
It's very very entertaining to me.
Really nice, really nice. And you guys just know each other here in Brazil. You guys didn't know each other before.
It's first time we met.
First time, because I saw a tweet from you on X that you had a dinner with Stardust, and that he taught you a lot of things. Can you guys share a little bit of like what was that? Is it possible that you can share that type of information with us?
It is, yeah. I mean,
Sure.
But if he says it, he'll be like super humble and he won't say anything. So
It's your choice, guys.
Go.
So from me personally, I learned a lot from the encounter. I think that you can't actually ignore experience. Experience is actually a very powerful thing. And one of the things I actually learned was what he just talked about. You know, I came here with the idea of, hey, let's change the culture, et cetera, et cetera. But what maybe I needed a little bit more of is adapting to the Brazilian culture too. I think, you know, that's something that I have tried to do, but I didn't think I did as successful as, for example, Stardust. So, you know, adapting to your players, adapting to the individual, understanding that, you know, these people live different lives. So it's all about, okay, how can we achieve high performance from the players that we have in the moment? And I think that that's what led to the success of Loud in the first split, and what led to a little bit of a struggle for us in our first split. So that was a great lesson. And then also just about, you know, talent management and coaching styles, and a little bit about the game as well. So, but the game I won't say, because I like to use that advantage for myself instead of like spreading what he taught me like everywhere, you know. So yeah, I mean, it was a good experience.
It's really nice, really nice. And now talking about more about your teams in general, because you guys won the 2 games that you played in the first split, but you did not play it on the best of 5 against Loud. Were you like willing to play against them in the BO5, put yourself in that scenario and see if you could beat them? Are you like, did you guys get like upset to not play against each other in a BO5 series? Because in my expectations, that would be an insane game between Loud and Keyd. Were you guys like willing to play against each other, or not really? Because Stardust, they like SeeEl beat you guys twice in the first split.
Honestly, the bracket was made by like the rank, so I don't really care. But I mean, if we have to face each other, I mean, we will try our best and then try to beat them.
And what about your vision on like facing Loud in a BO5?
I mean, I think another thing that I learned, and it's kind of related to this, is the regular season is a BO1. So, you know, I think part of the reason why we had some successes was we had planned specifically against Loud, and Loud had planned for the playoffs, right? So we got some like solid drafts against them, but it didn't necessarily mean we were a better team, even though we beat them twice. And I think that that was kind of the difference maker, because they stuck to their style stylistically, they perfected it, and then as they went to playoffs, they kind of scaled up. And so, you know, my philosophy was that if we lost to Pain, then we shouldn't even be thinking about Loud, and that's exactly what happened. I do think that it would have been an interesting matchup stylistically because I think Loud play 3 lanes well, and compared to Brazil, I think they play the side lane the best here, and I felt like that our team was one of the few teams that could actually play side lanes. So yeah, we were. I mean, I think it would have been a very interesting game to watch. And on the other hand, I think Pain was actually stylistically worse for us because they have explosive lanes, particularly their bot lane, and that was, I think, one of our struggles in the first split.
Yeah, you guys basically played against every team on the playoffs, but not Loud. I would be like so happy to see you guys playing against each other. But now you guys play on Saturday, I think, right? Between Loud and Keyd. What do you think started about this matchup? Is that anything special for Loud playing against them? And how far is Loud from your 100%? Because we saw you guys coming back from the MSI and now understanding the meta. Tell me a bit about playing against Vivo Keyd this weekend and how far is Loud from your top level?
Just about Loud first in general. So the structure of CBLOL is kinda difficult to improve because the most of every game in the regular season is BO1. So usually in regular season, what most of teams doing is they just prepare 4 days for just 2 games
To win that match.
Yeah. So most likely you can expect what they're going to ban in this weekend. So they just account that and then try to make their best comp to get their most comfortable champion. Try to win the weekend game. But the other hand, there is benefit. Yes, there is high chance you can play your best comp the week and then win the game. But the other hand, it doesn't last long. You can't really take your macro. You can depend on the comp. You need to play different. But all week you will play only one style. So you will perform better. But in the other hand, you will struggle more when you go to best 5. So this is a pros and cons. You can choose such as in Ross. I think I was doing kind of a thing that okay, we play 4 days, most likely same comp, and then try to win the weekend. But when I see Vivo, I think they are doing pretty much the same thing as I did in Ross in spring split or summer.
Mm-hmm.
So as a coach, been through the many situation. I was 7 years as a coach in the LEC, LCS, Korea, LLA, CBLOL, right? So each year I learn something, and then now, of course, I'm still learning. So I can't say this is absolute truth or not, but people need to be smarter. Regular season is matter, but at the same time you have to prepare for playoffs too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then as well as, so let's say if we're talking about best of 3 game, even if you lose 1 game, you still have 2 more games to win, right? But here you can't really make any experiment.
Mm-hmm.
You know this is not our best comp, but highly likely if you go to best 5, you have to play this kind of a thing too. Because what if enemy just ban this champion? Then we have to do this because it's second option. So those things is kind of what makes me a bit difficult because I know we need to play more composition, but at the same time I know most likely it's not necessary in this weekend. So we need divide half and then try to get as much as possible, but still having less chance to experiment on stage is really what makes me kinda unhappy. Mm-hmm. I like to have more opportunity to show.
To try more stuff.
Yes, try more stuff, and then still win. Because if we drop 1 game, we can still win 2 games. But if you drop 1 game, as here is Brazil, right? Everyone pointing out, they play bad.
Pointing
and then,
fingers, yeah.
Yes. And the player also kinda get emotional. Just play what we are good at. Why you try something like this? This is a little annoying. Sad, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on Loud. And now, Chris, to finish the conversation, I want to know your thoughts also on Keyd, because we saw in your vlogs, etc., that you say process, trust in the process, trust in the process. How far you think Keyd is from reaching the level that you want these guys to be? Because we heard that you were liking to be your best in 2 or 5 years, but then you got third place in the first split. How far your team is from getting to the level that you wish for the team?
I mean, first of all, I think that my players are incredibly talented. So how far we can go is dependent on their talent. I think we're probably about 40% of the way there, 40 to 35% of the way there. Maybe a little more.
He's kind of smile to that.
I mean, when he say his players are incredibly talented, okay, everyone is talented, I guess.
I mean,
Continue.
I believe in my players. I think we went through a pretty prudent scouting process when we looked at that, big data, individual POVs. I think something that was really lacking for us was both game knowledge and professionalism. I do think that there was some truth to what Stardust did, which is like BO1s have a lot less value in general in terms of experimenting as well as like being pushed to play a different meta, because once you lose one game, then on the second game, people are going to adapt and they're going to ban you out and you're going to have to figure out other ways to play. I wouldn't say that it's entirely true that we just play like 1 or 2 compositions per week. Our process is not really like that at all, but I do think that definitely for our team, we had people that were inexperienced or people that were not particularly in good teams. So they had to learn how to win. And I think that process has been a challenge, and that's something that we've been working on. For example, Pedro, I think he's definitely never made a final.
No, not really. Designs, right?
I think, yeah.
Pedro is Designs,
yeah, I
right?
think he hasn't never come top 3, maybe even. I think for Fabio, so Predelta, that was his.
Yeah, he got that on a final for Paying, but
yeah, but that was the first CBLOL split he ever played, last split, and so winning these games had a little bit of priority for us in terms of maintaining motivation and progress, because obviously they're rookies and dealing with emotion and leveling up the professionalism as well as the gameplay is incredibly stressful and challenging. So wins help a lot with that. And so, yeah, I do think that there was part of our strategy that focused more on winning these BO1s. Do I think that we deserve to be the best team? Were we the best team in first split? Definitely not. Did we have... if we were, we would have won, I think. Did we have a process that focused on one particular style? I don't think so. So I do think that we're about maybe 35-40% of the way there. Building these things take a long time. Now, the benefit now is that going into the second split, we've had to focus a lot less on working on just the very basics of the game. Just the very, very basics of the game. And so now we can actually work on developing the individual, and I'm hoping that we see some good progress there.
Okay, guys, thank you for joining me in this conversation. E, rapaziada, por aqui a gente termina essa conversa. Acho que clarificou, pelo menos na minha visão, um pouquinho de como que eles pensam, todos os processos aí dos dois times. Acompanhe o CBLOL no sabadão, a partir de 12h45 com o Lobby CBLOL, e esses dois times se encontram. Forte abraço, valeu!